So it's been a big week. It's been a big month. It's there's lots of stuff happening. But today we're going to do something that we haven't done, I think, on any live stream ever. And we're going to take out some marsupials. So we're not going to do venomous snakes today. I know you guys love them. I love them. Everybody loves venomous snakes. But it's been a long day. It's been a long couple of days. And because we're handling cute, fluffy animals at the same time, probably not an ideal thing. But, of course, first up we do have Paddle Pop, our beautiful water python. G'day Kim, g'day Ada, g'day Basil, how is everybody? So yeah, we'll take out some snakes, we'll have a bit of a chat about that, and then we'll get out something cuter and fluffier that we don't normally cover on this. But I also want to point out, we've got the new sign. Thanks to our Patreon supporters. I'm going to add some more as we go along. But our big sponsors are Perth Reptile Relocations and Warrnambool Wildlife Encounters. So check them out on Facebook. And if you want to support us on Patreon, that goes a long way to help and keep the lights on. It helps us visit more places, get more videos up. Love you, mate. Thanks for the kind words while you're in hospital. You're very welcome. I'm sorry I meant to get in touch with you and ask how you're doing personally, but I hope Kim passed it on my best regards. So, Paddle Pop here is, of course, a water python. This species found across North Queensland, starting, basically my old stomping grounds up North Queensland and Townsville and cross into the Northern Territory. And they are one of the most understated snakes in the country, I think. Because they're plain, they don't have bright patterns or anything like this. Maybe they're overlooked, but, under the light, these guys shine. The lights that I've got on my phone just don't do it. She looks brown, but they've got a nice iridescent rainbow sheen. So a lot of people think that the whole rainbow serpent story may have started out or traced back to water pythons. G'day Val, how are you doing? I'm well. Did you see I put up a photo on the Patreon group of another koala we saw today, a young female crossing a road. She's not in a gum tree. She's in just some elm or oak or something that's been planted. But yeah, plenty of koalas around. What's the biggest snake that I've held? I used to look after a reticulated python and a Burmese python at a zoo. And we took them out a couple of times. And they were 5 meters. Well, the retic was 5 meters plus, maybe 5.5, 6 meters. So it was a big snake. And like a 5 meter scrubby, I've handled a 5 meter scrubby and he's like this thick. A 5 meter retic is like this thick. It takes 2 or 3 people to safely handle him. So yeah, I've dealt with some pretty big pythons. She's beauty, she's big, healthy. Yeah, this fella here is probably a smidge overweight. But, he's a nice, big, healthy snake. I try and keep my snakes on the leaner side, but water pythons certainly do love their food. Oh, I'm going to grab a quick drink. We've been chatting away. G'day, Sammy. How are you? So, Sammy, Val, Basil, all you guys are our... For everybody else watching, some of our regular Patreon supporters, give them a shout out, say hello. He is beautiful. He is a very cool snake. What's my feed schedule like for the snakes? Sporadic. So, a lot of people like having a routine. Thanks for always... You're very welcome, guys. Make sure to check out the Nightcap. They got a cool little, like an online, like a video podcast. It's cool. Check out the Nightcap on YouTube, guys. Tamara. G'day, Tamara. Everybody say hello to Tamara. She's another one of our awesome Patreon supporters and basically reminds me that this happens every week. So the live stream wouldn't happen without Tamara. So yeah, my feed schedule. Most people get into like this, Tuesday night is feed night. And every Tuesday night I feed the snakes. And I get that. It's good. It's easy to keep track of. I feed a lot more sporadically. Partially because it just works for me. Like, I've got animals that are constantly out doing shows, and I can't take them to shows when there's food in their stomach. So, if Tuesday night was feed night, but Wednesday I have 3 bookings, I don't want to be feeding everybody. So I'll move the feed day that time. So some of my snakes are every 10 days, some are every 14 days. But if 14 days rolled around and I'm busy or I don't have food defrosted or I have a show and I need that animal, I'll stretch it out to 21 days. I feed very sporadically, and that's the way that they're fed in the wild. So I think it's good for them. Yeah. Also gauge a little bit off behaviour. If I see a snake pacing or sort of perched in its enclosure as if it's in striking pose, I'll say, well, so-and-so wants a feed. If he hasn't moved for 3 days and he's curled up under his rock, I'd say, well, he's not looking for food in the bush, so he's not going to get any here. So I It's not how everybody would do it. It's not how I'd recommend a first-time keeper feed, but it works for us. What happens if I take antivenom after a dry bite? Great question. Antivenom, there's sort of this story that antivenom is as toxic as venom, and if you get it without having venom in your system, it's going to kill you. Antivenom is really nasty stuff, but having venom in your system or not having venom in your system doesn't necessarily make a huge difference. The issue with antivenin is the allergic reaction. It's basically horse antibodies. So after the last 2 years, I'm sure everybody understands how antibodies work, but basically they're little proteins, they float around your body and they're designed to stick to something. In the case of these horse proteins, they're designed to stick to venom, and that stops your venom sticking to whichever part of your body it's attacking. I'm going to close this door so you can't hear my dogs. So yeah, that's how antivenom works, basically made out of horse blood. But if you don't have any antivenin in your system, it doesn't have anything to block onto, but the protein's not going to like block onto your body and mess it up. But there is a chance of an allergic reaction. That's counted in hospital by basically giving antihistamines and adrenaline in worst case scenarios. But it's a great example of why we can't keep it ourselves. But it's dangerous even if you have been bitten by a venomous snake. Antivenom can be dangerous. So what's the longest time a snake can go without food, I meant to say? I've met snakes that have gone 18 months without a feed. These are snakes that either sort of came to parks that I've worked at in bad condition or a variety of things. But normally I wouldn't want them. I think the longest one of my snakes regularly goes is 6 months. Like in winter, a lot of my animals stop feeding. I keep them relatively natural temperatures so they experience winter. And from April through to September, a lot of mine won't eat. I'll go in a year without a feed, she's smashing food. Yeah, it's not uncommon at all. I wouldn't worry too much. Again, it's a bit like if you're confident with being able to assess your snake's condition. A snake can go a long time without feeding and still be in good condition. Or a snake can go, a short time without feeding and be losing condition. If the snake's cooled down, it's going to hold. You want that diet. I don't know. I sort of like knowing that I've got dinner every night. I like my food too much to eat that sporadically. My guys do this. The first winter, it was nerve-wracking. Yeah, every winter, when I was working in pet stores, every single winter we'd get a lot of phone calls and people come in saying, my snake suddenly stopped feeding. What's wrong with him? And I get it. It's pretty scary if you're not used to it. But it's a natural thing for them to happen. And as long as they're in good condition, it's nothing to be concerned about. I had a girl in a few years, and only this year she started to go off her food in winter. Not uncommon. Am I going to be able to go to Adelaide now? I've been told Australia's finally opening up. Yeah, so the South Australian border is opening up to us at the moment. Australia's very confusing. All of our states sort of closed individually, so we couldn't go from one state to another state. And some of our states are opening up to international visitors, but other states aren't even open to other Australians yet. So at the moment, I can't go to Queensland, but I could probably go to England, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, South Australia, we have Southern Koala Rescue. They're starting to open up at the moment. But I've also coming into my busiest couple of months of the year. So I've got to try and find a few days where I can get away where that works for me and works for them, of course, because it's no good me getting over there if they can't see me. But yeah, we will get to Southern Koala Rescue when we can. If I can't get there, I've got some koalas lined up to film with on the other side of Melbourne and in Queensland. So we will get some koala content out for you, Val, I promise. My snake went 8 months, didn't lose, worried me sick though, yeah. Let's go to Colombia. I'd love to do filming it. Colombia, Costa Rica. Places like that would be pretty cool to do some wildlife filming, I reckon. All right, we'll pop him away. We might get out one more snake. It's not going to be a long live stream tonight, guys. But we'll get out one more snake and then maybe we'll get out these cute little fluffies. That's insane. No wonder. Oh, yeah, we're so confused. Yeah, it's a bit much. How many breeding snakes do I have? And do I sell them to zoos or help with antivenom programs? I don't necessarily keep everything in breeding pairs. I don't really consider myself a breeder at all. There's things that I'll probably breed in the future. I'd like to breed these dugeites that we've got maybe. My ringtail possum breed every year. I usually have a few shinglebacks each year. A few blue tongues, things like this, but breeding's not my goal. I don't work in antivenom production. In fact, all antivenom all venom for antivenom is produced by one facility in Australia, the Gosford Reptile Park, or Australian Reptile Park. There is other places that milk snakes for venom, but it's used for pharmaceutical research, not for antivenom production. It's just the contract comes from that one park. The other thing is, I've got a lot of venomous snakes, but I couldn't milk venomous snakes in my reptile room and it meet the medical requirements. It's got to be done under like laboratory conditions. Would I consider getting an inland taipan? I'm hoping we're getting another inland taipan in the very near future. Somebody's got one that they've offered us. We're just going to get there. I've kept a lot of inland taipans in the past, and I've worked, with a lot of inland taipans. So yeah, we'd love to have another inland taipan on the channel. G'day, Duffster Charles. How are you, mate? All right, we'll paddle pop away. Maybe we'll get out Mr. Spots or something easy, and then we're going to get out these two new babies. Paddle up. Back you go. I'm coming back, guys. All right. So another snake from North Queensland is, of course, Mr. Spots, a beautiful spotted python. So the spotted python's found northern New South Wales to the tip of Cape York, up in Papua New Guinea through the Torres Strait, things like this. On my adventures, may go see leaf-tailed gecko, striped possums, two-top. I would love to go to the Atherton Tablelands. I'd love to see striped ringtails and green ringtails. It'd be cool. And there's Hubert River ringtails, there's Daintree River ringtails if you go further north. G'day, Sydney. How are you, mate? Glad to have you here. There's some really cool animals not just to go to get north of Cairns. Going to Manchester in the spring, going to Longleat to feed their koalas. I've never been to England. The only place in Europe I've been was Greece when I was a child. So, very glad to be here. It's going to be a short one today. How am I? I'm knackered. We've been shearing at work for the last 7 days. 5,500 sheep, including lambs, shorn in the last few days. So, I am pooped. Get off the screen, fly. But glad it's done. We're all finished. I thought I'll make an appearance, but yeah, we're going to keep it a fairly short live stream tonight. I just felt bad not coming on and saying hello to you guys. Sounds tiring. Yeah, it's all fun and games. Of all the animals I deal with every day, sheep, oh man, they make me tired. So, as I said, Mr. Spots, spotted python, found up North Queensland. He's a member of the children's python family. So the children's python, Stimson's python, Pygmy python. Thank you very much, Sammy. Remember to like. That's right, leave a thumbs up, guys. Do forest dragons use camouflage? Yeah, forest dragons or Boyd's forest dragons, they certainly camouflage pretty well. They don't change colour like chameleons. They can change colour a little bit, but usually it's more based around temperature. But they do camouflage pretty well. They're very hard to spot. They also physically hide themselves. If you walk past them and there's a tree in between you, they'll walk around the tree, hide on the other side of them. So they're very, very hard to spot. They blend in very well. What do I do with the wool after shearing? It gets put into big bales, 200 kilo bales, and gets taken to wool buyers in town. So that's what I was doing all day today, was driving in, 88 bales of wool in lots of 6 or 8. Been driving back and forth a lot today. My cousins live in Manchester. Go to Northern England. They're very friendly. I'd love to go to Northern England. Unfortunately, for a reptile person, it's probably not the ideal climate. Matter for life. Got any facts for bilbies or Thorny Devils? Well, Thorny Devils, they're pretty cool. I'd love to do a video on Thorny Devils. I I know somebody who runs a wildlife park in Alice Springs who said, if you get here, you can film with our Thorny Devils. But Thorny Devils are cool for a bunch of reasons. They've got, I don't know how much you know about them, these are pretty common facts, but they've basically got a false head. So on a Thorny Devil's head, here's his head, here's his body. They've got this big, almost looks like a tumorous lump on the back of the head. The reason is if he sticks his head down, this tumorous lump sticks out the front. It's a false head. If a bird comes down and grabs it, it's going to grab that fatty lump rather than his actual head. It can pull that off, fly away, and he can live another day. So that's pretty cool. The other thing that they're really sort of famous for is they're able to drink via what we call capillary action. So a Thorny Devil literally just has to stand in a puddle, or even just a tiny bit of moisture in the air is enough to get this going sometimes. And rather than putting his head down to water to drink, he just opens his mouth and closes his mouth. And all the tiny gaps between his scales, water basically funnels up against gravity into his mouth. So he can drink without putting his face anywhere in the water. That's pretty cool. Capillary action. Can I get a death adder out? No, we're not going to get any... We're not doing venomous snakes in general tonight, I'm afraid. But we normally do. Facts about bilbies. Well, there's 2 species of bilbies, and one of them is extinct. Most people don't know that. We've got the greater, is it the greater bilby now, and the lesser bilby's gone? Or we've got greater bilbies and the lesser bilbies extinct in the last sort of 200 years. Damp sand, yeah, damp sand would certainly do it. Does a fatty little lump grow back? Yeah, well, as far as I'm aware, why do mountain pygmy possums need cold weather? Mountain pygmy possums are really interesting. They're the only marsupial that truly hibernates. We've got marsupials that go in a torpor, like that they go in a very short-term hibernation on a particularly cold night. But the mountain pygmy possum literally sleeps for a couple of months, proper hibernation. As far as why they need it, it's still a bit of a mystery because like they do it in the wild. They've done it in the wild for hundreds of thousands of years. But we're only just starting to really knuckle down their care in captivity in the last 5-6 years. And they've basically found that ones that are cooled and warmed up breed better and they live longer. So nobody's figured out the sort of physiology of it. We just know it works. Can we please see the scrubby? I can get out the scrubby and then we'll get out some cute fluffy babies for a little bit, eh? A spotted python's good pets to keep. Spotted pythons are fantastic fur snakes, in my opinion. With any fur snake, I generally tell people not to get a hatchling for your first snake. I know it's cheaper. Everybody likes that idea and they go, oh, I'll grow him up and I'll grow an experience as he grows bigger and whatnot. But there are so many adult or sub-adult snakes that need homes. And the benefit of an adult snake is you already know what he's going to turn out like. You don't have to try and pick the docile one in a clutch. So for first-time snakes, I tell people, find an adult or a sub-adult or something that's grown, it's feeding well, and you know what it's going to be like. I'll pop them away. We'll get out the baby scrubby for a minute, and then we're going to get out some marsupials after I've washed my hands. All right. So this is our baby scrub python, and he's got quite a bit of growing left to do. This guy will get 4-5 meters long. They have the potential to get even longer, but I think he's definitely getting bigger. I don't know. He's been sitting in his water bowls, so he's dripping wet. But the scrub python is the largest snake in Australia, and somewhere around the 5th longest snake in the world. So 5.5-6.5 meters long. There's records of them bigger, but there's records of people 8'4". But they're by far the biggest snake in Australia. They also happen to be my favourite snake on the planet. Maybe even my favourite reptile. Just the fact that they're big, they've got attitudes, they've got cool platy scales on their heads. I love them. I say it every time, but to me they look like a dinosaur going through a sausage machine. Favourite Australian python? They're my favourite python flat out. Does the scrubby have a name yet? No, the scrubby doesn't have a name. I've basically been waiting until we know for sure whether it's a male or a female. We suspect it's a female, but because it's years and years away from being able to be bred, I'm not in a big rush. Once it's a little bit bigger, I'll probe it. We'll 100% know if it's a boy or a girl, and then we'll give it a name. Maybe we'll put it to our Patreon supporters. Also, guys, I think I said it at the beginning, but we've got the new board for Patreon supporters. I'd love to put all our Patreon supporters' names up there. We've got Perth Reptile Relocations and Waterable Wildlife Encounters. Luckily, we're starting to get quite a collection of Patreon supporters. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get all of them, or if we'll do, you know, like anybody over a certain amount. Let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see your name up on the board? I don't know. I just thought it's a nice way to say thank you to the people that helped us out. Amethyst would be such a great name. It would be. I've met a bunch of Amy's, like Amy the Scrub Python, because of Amethyst. So, I don't know. Obviously, I'd rather deal with a grumpy tiny snake than a grumpy big snake. Spot on. Training hatchling for handling snakes seems easy though, but I guess I'm just big on training. You know what? Everybody says that. Like, it's easy to get a baby snake tamed. When I started doing shows, I used to basically get everything as a baby, and I'd grow them up myself, because I was like, they need to start off doing this for their life if they're going to do well at shows. Today, every carpet python I have was given to me as an adult, and most of them were given to me as snappy adults, and I've just worked on them to get them tame. Granted, not everybody's confident enough to handle them. Like, it's so easy if you get a snappy adult snake to say, oh, it's too hard to handle. I'm not going to. He's just a display snake. So yeah, they do take not courage, but just a bit of reading. But I've not met a python that can. In theory, any snake can tame down. With the venomous snakes, same thing. They have the potential to tame down. The issue is the risks are too high. Like, I can afford to get bitten half a dozen times by a carpet python while it's adjusting. Can't afford to get bitten by Rowdy the brown snake. So that's the reason why the venom snakes are less tame. It's not that they're meaner, but yeah, I think any adult snake. Also, when I say an adult snake, Rowdy just doesn't want to tame down. If I was happy to get bitten a bunch of times, Sisu, no, there will be no Sisus. I hear about Sisu all day. Sisu and Raya, and it was my daughter's birthday yesterday, and everything's Sisu. I keep telling her, we've got real dragons. We've got Elliot the water dragon and Pancake the bearded dragon. And so, yeah. Do you think wombats have square poo so it doesn't roll, or coincidence of evolution? I know it's a hard one to answer. Well, I suppose in a weird way, evolution is a series of coincidences. Like, it's basically the accumulation of mutations, and mutations are coincidences. The thing is, the coincidences that don't work disappear. There's no reason for them to hang around. The coincidences that do work then get retained as a trait because they offer that individual an advantage. So would I be dodging the question if I said maybe both? That's what I'm going with. I feel like there's something innate that most people are somewhat worried about a snappy big python, even if it doesn't hurt. Yeah, like if you're dealing with a snake that's like 2-3 meters long and is bitey, I get nervous with a snake that big that's bitey. But I suppose most of the time I don't get bitten by a snake that big, even if it is bitey. It takes some experience to read them. Totally Rami wouldn't be here. So you say that, he's probably lurking. Rami tells me he always watches and he only chimes in if I'm getting out of lappets. So go for a typical big pet new tiny. So I'll pop this guy away. We'll end up, maybe I'll go wash my hands. I know it's a short stream. I know I'm probably being lazy tonight, guys, but if I pop them away, I'm going to get out something cute. Is there anything that can be done to get blackberries under control? There's a few methods that we use to control blackberries. For those of you guys who don't know, Val's asking because the blackberry was the last episode, or the most recent episode, on our most invasive species of Australia series. And the blackberry is number 8 for the most invasive species. So there's a few things that we can do about blackberries. Some people spray them. Some people use things like goats, and I've even heard of camels to eat them. We physically chop them out, all sorts of stuff. The problem with spraying is often we can't spray a whole plant. Blackberries are so thick that you can only spray the outsides, and then the inside survives and keeps spreading out. The other thing is blackberries, more often than not, are growing around waterways, and that severely limits the sprays that we are allowed to use. Because a lot of sprays have the potential to hurt, aquatic fauna. So we've got to be careful with that. G'day, Kelly. How are you? Hope you well. Missed the video as well. Well, thank you very much for coming on back. So yeah, spraying works in some places, doesn't work in others. Also, blackberries are often found in very, very sort of rugged country. Same thing with goats and camels and physically grazing them. You've got to get into it. So yeah, they often sort of eat around the outside. And there's not. If we could get rid of them, we would have figured out a way to do it by now. It's just constantly being on them. All right, we'll get these babies out, I reckon. Do crocs and gators see through water? Yeah, they see underwater pretty well. They've got what we call a nictitating membrane, a clear third eyelid that goes sideways. It's like wearing goggles. First time I got bit, took me a while to recover. Yeah, there's 4 million years of evolution telling you being bitten by a snake is a bad thing to do. All right, I'm going to quickly wash my hands because we're playing with snakes, and we'll get out these babies. All right, babies. So, I can't say I'm going to get these guys out for long because this is the first time they've been away from mum for more than 5 minutes. But, so people always ask, oh, good to see you there. Excuse me. You know, do I breed anything and why don't I breed more? And I don't breed a lot of reptiles, but one thing I breed every year is these guys. And this year we've got twins. And we're very lucky to have twins because unfortunately their father passed away earlier in the year. And I didn't know if we'd get any babies, but he obviously did the job before he passed away. You want to hide, don't you? I know, it's pretty scary. They're two beautiful girls. Whoop. We've got one baby ringtail. Two baby ringtail possums. So we've got two baby female ringtail possums, and these guys have just left the pouch. These guys were born maybe 100 days ago, but they spend the first part of their life in mum's pouch. And I know you can, you're brave. So they spend the first part of their life in mum's pouch. They're born like a tiny jelly bean, well, half the size of a jelly bean, crawl in mum's pouch, attached to a teat, start drinking milk, and they finish developing in there. They stay in the pouch until they get too big to move. So for the last few weeks, I've seen mum look less and less comfortable, and I've seen tails sticking out and legs sticking out. And about a week ago, I saw mum come out when I fed them, and suddenly her pouch is empty. So I thought, oh, babies are in here somewhere. So she started leaving her babies in the nest box. So what I've been doing since then is every day pulling them out of the nest box when mum's feeding for maybe 5 minutes, just handling them, getting them used to my voice, getting them used to being touched. Luckily, mum's hand raised, so she's not good enough for shows anymore, but she's not nervous the fact that I'm handling her babies. So I take them out, play with them for a bit, put them back in. So when they grow up, hopefully these guys will be doing shows. We'll probably keep one of these guys to do shows. Maybe it'll be you. And the other one might be going to another educational facility to go and teach people about ringtail possums over there. But how adorable is that? Cute little ringtail possum. Now, a couple of cool facts about ringtail possums is ringtail possums are obviously herbivorous, but while these guys today are known for eating mum's roses and dad's tomatoes and things like this, these guys in the wild are mostly folivores. They mostly eat leaves, and they basically eat eucalyptus leaves is the vast majority of their diet. And if you know anything about eucalyptus leaves, they're a terrible, terrible food. They're not a good thing to eat. There's only 3 animals in the world that can live off eucalyptus. There's ringtail possums, the greater glider, and koalas. Now, koalas live off eucalyptus by shrinking their brain to the size of nothing so they don't waste any energy because eucalyptus doesn't have many calories. Ringtail possums, they get around it. Whoa! Ringtail possums get around it. It's okay. Ringtail possums get around this by basically they eat their gum leaves twice. So, I know, you hide your cute little face. So they eat their gum leaves twice. So they'll go around, they'll pick the nicest, softest gum leaves. There you go, your sister can stick her head out for a second. They'll pick the nicest, softest gum leaves off the ends of the branches and during the night. And during the day, they'll eat their own poo. So it goes through their digestive system twice. And after 2 laps of their stomach, they get enough out of these eucalyptus leaves to survive. So pretty cool. It's called coprophagia, the eating of their own droppings. But it's what it takes to live off eucalyptus leaves. So there you go. Cute little ringtail possums. I'll pop them back. She's done pretty good. And her little sister's doing well as well. So I'll pop them away, and in 10 minutes, we'll put them back with their mum. Rabbits do that too. Yeah, rabbits certainly do. Yeah, lots of animals do it. But for ringtail possums, it's a very important part. Rabbits do the same thing. I think it's their daytime droppings that are edible, and their nighttime droppings that they leave. Coprophagy is very common in small mammals. Yeah, it's pretty common in a lot of things. Rabbits, guinea pigs, ringtail possums. Yeah, I'm sure there's more, but it's all I can think of in the top. I thought koalas were the only ones. Yeah, so koalas have to live off eucalyptus. Like, it's what they eat. Ringtail possums can eat other stuff, but they're capable of living off eucalyptus. So, yeah, a bit different. Do black-headed pythons slithering in burrows in Queensland, Northern Territory? Do black-headed pythons slither into burrows? Like, black-headed pythons live throughout sort of semi-arid. They're found into the subtropics. You know, Northern Territory, Queensland, Western Australia. And they'll certainly go down burrows. They certainly live in burrows. They like eating anything else they find in burrows. Told people at work to do it. Not quite in the same words. Great to see you and the babies. Have a good night. Work early tomorrow at 12. No worries. Thank you very much for popping by. I'm about to head off as well, guys. But like I said, I thought we weren't gonna do it all, but I thought better hop on. We better say hello to everybody, and maybe it's a good chance to show you some cute little marsupials, because I don't get to show you many mammals on our live streams. As a general rule of thumb, I try to avoid handling fluffy animals and scaly animals at the same time. But I thought we'll get the pythons out of the way, wash our hands, handle the babies, and who knows, maybe we'll bring them out for a few minutes each week or every second week, just to keep them tame. And in a few months' time, they might be visiting schools and birthday parties and kindergartens and teaching the world how wonderful possums are. Who knows? Take care, Callie. No worries. Thanks for popping by. All right, guys. Skink, gecko, same. No, skinks and geckos are two different families of lizards. So the geckos are way over one side, and the pygopods, or legless lizards, are very close to the geckos. And skinks are off on their own branch as well. Love to see them grow. Yeah, I'm pretty keen to see them grow as well. One of them will definitely stay here. And I've got to decide whether the other will stay here or the other will go to another sort of educational facility. Should come to Ada's school. I'd love to go to Ada's school. We go to a few schools. Obviously on the other side of Melbourne from us. But if they'll have us, we'll come. We go anywhere we're allowed to and anywhere we're wanted. Love the videos. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Tamara. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap things up there. But thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our Sunday's video. We're going to have the 7th most invasive species in Australia. We're slowly working our way down to number 10. And supporting us on Patreon is the other big thing you guys can do if you want. We've got a bunch of our fantastic Patreon supporters here. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch more in the comments after this goes live. But there you go. Been given mixed answers how venomous brown tree snakes are. Brown tree snakes aren't considered very venomous, but individual people can have very bad reactions. I have no reaction to brown tree snakes, which I know for a fact. I've been bitten by a brown tree snake. Do I know Kangaroo Island have bird shows? Yeah, Kangaroo Island raptor domain out there is pretty good. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. I'll see you all later. But yeah, check on back on Sunday. Be back here next week for next week's live stream. Have a good one. Be nice to wildlife. See you next time.